What's going on? Welcome to VT Sports. I'm Danny Cannell alongside my guy Chris Mano. Fun show lined up for you today. A lot of NFL topics going on, including the New York Giants finally make a move. They fire Brian Daboll. We'll talk about the ramifications of that. We also have potentially a new starting quarterback for the G-Men. We'll touch on that as well. Plus, the Miami Dolphins. We thought Mike McDaniel was going to get fired. Has he found a new lease on life? Has he bought some time there in Miami for the Dolphins? There's a lot to get to. President Trump was at a NFL game. The response was pretty interesting that he got from the crowd there. He was making the rounds with Veterans Day this week, so we'll hit on that. Plus, the NBA announced a new all-star format. It is pretty surprising. It's a little outside the box. We'll break that down as well. Before we do anything, though, let me say hello to my guy, Chris Mano. What's going on, man? How we doing?
I'm doing great, man. All is good on my side. More of the same. Sports is great. Life's a little crazy, but it's going to be like that, I suppose, for some time now.
Yeah, so, it's been a great week.
Yeah.
The weather has turned. It's very nice and cool here. Oh, this is freezing.
Winter came and gone in 24 hours.
I almost had my parka out the other day when it was 55 degrees and a little bit chilly. But it was Veterans Day on Tuesday. I got to play in a golf tournament on Monday.
Okay.
For Folds of Honor. It's a great
cool
organization that does stuff to help veterans, help them stay connected. And it was a golf tournament I was in. And I was walking around. I'm curious to know if you know this, because there were all these 13s in Roman numerals, like XII, and that's my number. So, like, I got a sweet hat that says XII, and it said Folds of Honor on the side. And I was curious because I'm like, is this the 13th year of this golf tournament, of the organization or anything? So I asked them what the significance of 13 was, and they said, no, it's not actually the years of the tournament. It has something else to do with the organization Folds of Honor. Any guess on your half? It's a hard guess.
My only thought could be something to do with the colonies and the stripes on the flag.
That's a really good guess.
No.
That's a really good guess. That's actually what my wife and daughters guessed.
Okay.
So the Folds of Honor is basically, it's the flag that is folded to an officer, to their family when they pass away.
Right.
And the amount of folds, it's 13 folds.
That's incredible.
Which I thought was really cool. I did not know that. The other thing I learned is we have a flag up in our front yard, and it's getting dirty. And so my wife has been like, hey, can you wash the flag? And I'm like, I don't know if you're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So I asked. I was actually playing golf with an F-18 fighter pilot. He's retired now, but he was 20 years fighting in our military, defending our freedom. Awesome. Also played with a guy that served in the Navy, lived on ships for years at a time. It was pretty insane. But I asked him, I asked him the question, I'm like, my wife wants me to clean it. I'm like, I'm not going to clean it because I know you're not supposed to do that. I said, what do you do? And he gave me like all these options. He said, you can take it to a library. They should be able to dispose of it. You could call the Boy Scouts. He said, they'll take it off your hands. He said, but you have to make sure the flag dies an honorable death. Like you don't want to and you don't want to clean it. He said, you want to replace it.
Okay.
Is what he said. And he gave me a couple different companies that are American-made companies. He said they'll probably last a little bit longer than the one I have up there. So it was very cool. And of course, we appreciate all the veterans. It's one of my favorite weeks because I don't think we show appreciation enough.
Right.
I always make sure if I see somebody traveling to football games, but you see a lot of them on the sidelines, they do flyovers. I love just saying thank you for your service. It means so much to me. And to be able to give a day for them to really show our appreciation to the country, it puts me in a good mood. It makes me feel better about our society when we kind of all become, get behind our troops and show our support for them. So very patriotic holiday, and of course, one of great appreciation.
Yeah, 100%. I think the times that we do give them the deserved love are few and far between. I mean, my pop was a veteran. I know we have a bunch of them over here. Shout Vinny, Pat, a bunch of you guys. So thank you for that always. But yeah, we seem like we a lot of unnecessary time towards other people and groups getting months and weeks and days, and we probably don't give the people who made everything possible for us the time they deserve.
No doubt.
Well, shout to them though. We love you.
Yeah. Did you have something you want to run by me, or is it more to get into the NFL?
Oh no, it's a football thing.
Okay, it's a football thing.
Yeah, it's a football thing.
You know what? Speaking of Trump, let's start off with that because Trump was at the Commanders-Lions game.
Yes, he was.
On Sunday night. And he got on the broadcast, even had some things to say. He was making the rounds there. Didn't get the best reception, but he was also on Pat McAfee's show, which, let me tell you, as somebody who worked at ESPN, this was a monumental occasion for ESPN to give airtime to a conservative, not just any conservative. I mean, it is MAGA movement.
The
it is
final
Donald
boss
Trump.
of conservatives.
Exactly. I mean, it is, and he's a polarizing figure. He strikes a lot of people emotional reactions to him. And for Pat McAfee to get him on there, I thought it took a lot of guts for Pat McAfee to do that, but he had to get approval. Like, he does have to get approval from his higher ups. And I think this is a huge step in the right direction for anybody as a company to respect the office of president. Here's a little clip from Pat McAfee on Donald Trump.
It is our honor, live from Paris Island, to say, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now for the first time ever, the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Hello, Pat. Hi, Pat.
So most people would think with our show that this would be an impressionist of the president because no president would actually join us. But on this Veterans Day, we want to say, Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. And I'm only joining you because I hear you say such nice things about me from your very large audience. I've always heard you've said such nice things.
It was great. And he spent probably 15, 20 minutes, President Trump did, with McAfee. McAfee kept asking him to give hoorahs.
Loved it.
And then he got the response from the Marines that were there, and he was into it. But again, if you follow, there was just a report out from Paul Feinbaum on the SEC network, and he did an interview, and he was telling a story that said he wanted to have President Trump on around to talk about SEC football. There was an SEC championship game, and his bosses at the time said no. Said, we do not want to give him airtime. We don't want a platform or whatever the terminology that they wanted to use. And yet they had multiple times that had President Obama on, other left-leaning presidents they had on and give him airtime and done bracketology and everything else with. And I was at the company when they did that. Colin Cowherd, interviewed President Obama. I never had a problem with it. I think it's the president of the United States. If he wants to come on and talk sports and show a different side of him, that is awesome, and you should take that opportunity. And I think it's a huge step in the direction for ESPN, who does have different management and different, executives in place now that are realizing that there is a bigger sports audience than just the left-leaning audience. There's a sign at ESPN that's up on a wall, and it says, serving sports fans across the world. And I think for a little while, ESPN lost its way, and it said, only serving certain sports fans, or what direction you lean politically will serve you, or they would only go for new sports fans or minority sports fans or LGBT, and they forgot about all of sports fans who are really their core audience. Those are the diehard sports fans that have been sports fans their whole lives, that don't care about your politics, that don't care about your sexual preference, they don't care who you vote for. They just love sports. And I think ESPN got away from that. And I think this is a big step in the right direction to at least say, let's acknowledge that this is the president of the United States. It is Veterans Day. Let's let him come on our airwaves, show his appreciation for the troops. And you know what? We've done it for the left. We can do it for the right. And if there is a new president in office in 4 years, we'll see what happens. I don't know, but let's respect the office so that you can have equal treatment for both sides.
Right. Absolutely a step in the right direction. And I'd like to believe that you're correct on that they're like loosening their stance. I think a lot of it probably speaks to the power that Pat McAfee has. I think there's something to be said about Paul Feinbaum maybe not getting the clearance, but Pat McAfee. And that's the thing I think a lot of us worried about when Pat made the move over to ESPN. Like, is he going to lose what made his show his show? And he's done a great job of kind of sticking with that. I think McAfee has a really good feel for his audience, and I think he knows that no matter what, his guys are going to stick with him if he just goes with his gut. He's always been really good about that. But yeah, it's a great thing. I'm glad to see it happening. Like you said, we use sports to kind of be our escape and our getaway in so many places. Now they've taken that away from one side who feels like we can't just go to watch our sports. We're going there and we're getting these messages that we care for. We don't care for these messages very much at all. But I haven't put ESPN on besides a game in like a million years.
Well, I haven't either because I have YouTube TV and I still can't get the channel. And by the way, can I just express a little beef with YouTube TV?
Have at it, man.
So they told all their subscribers and customers that you would get $20 back if you were an ESPN, Disney, if you had that package. They said, we'll give you $20 back. Well, guess what?
Tell me.
It is not just a credit on your account. Okay. There's actually multiple steps that you have to do to go claim the $20. So like a lot of people, if that email would have gone junk or you're busy and you overlooked it or you have thousands of emails in your inbox, you might not have done it. I think it was completely lame for YouTube TV to do that. Like, you have to take care of your customers that if you basically have screwed over, and ESPN, Disney's not, no one's innocent here, but for YouTube TV, for the paying customers, you should have just credited the account back and given everybody $20 and taken it the easy way, as opposed to this, because honestly, now I look at it, I'm like, I'm a little bit ticked off at YouTube TV now for making me jump through loops to go get my $20.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I got the same email. I made sure I went out of my way to click it, so I did claim that 20. But yeah, you know what it is?
But like my parents, they're in their 80s. They're not going to they're going to be like, are you kidding me? I don't want to have to do all this and sign up, and they don't even remember their password.
100%.
Like, they're not going to be able to do that.
And I don't know, did you just jump on the I don't like YouTube TV right now thing because of this? Because I've been there for a couple of weeks. Because for me now, it's just I'm watching these two gluttonous, like, behemoth companies battle over a couple of extra billion while us regular folks can't watch. This is 2 weeks in a row I've teed up for Monday Night Football. Big teams are playing too. Yeah. We're not getting it, and it sucks, man. It's brutal.
It's brutal. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out other ways. I have the ESPN app on my television, trying to use that. It's a little glitchy. It's not great.
Right.
But we'll see if they get it figured out. We mentioned the warm reception that President Trump got there in Paris Island. It wasn't quite the same at the Commanders game. Here's he is, a couple pictures of him there at the game. He even hopped on the broadcast during the game,
which he was great on.
Oh, he's made for television, right? I mean, he was in TV before he took the office, and of course with The Apprentice, the TV show, and then the guy's constantly on TV, so you should feel pretty comfortable there. But when the crowd was when he was shown up there on the Jumbotron, here is the crowd reaction to President Trump. Okay, I did not see that.
Oh, really?
No, that's the first time I've seen that. Like, I had read about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you read those stories and you're like, well, did they exaggerate?
Who wrote the story? Right.
That's pretty loud booze.
Oh, that's super loud.
Now,
super
what was he doing there? Was he swearing in new citizens? Was he swearing in new people, committing to the military? Because there was the group on the field that was repeating an oath. I don't know if it was like they were brand new to the U.S. or they were, going to serve our military. I don't know what it was. That's what I hate for the most, because I think President Trump is used to getting booed, but those people on their night, whatever special night it was, that was pretty shocking. That is one where I do think Trump has always. I was at the Army-Navy game one year when he went there. Very warm welcome. He's usually pretty smart and coordinated into the events that he goes to. I was at a national championship game, college football, southern portion of the country. Got a very warm welcome. That was interesting. I wonder how Trump feels inside about that. But I will say he's used to being a punching bag.
Yeah, that's definitely a new thing, because we've seen him at a million sporting events over the last couple of years, and he's gotten a ton of love, and it's been everywhere from California to Texas to Florida to New York. And yeah, that's the first one I've heard like that. Look, I'm going to be honest. I've been a big supporter for the longest time, but I can understand where there might be gripes with him right now. A lot of the things that he has promised, maybe he hasn't quite delivered on. I'm still behind him. I think he's better than the alternative option we had.
Yes.
We'll leave that at that. But interesting to see, because this weekend the UFC goes up to MSG. So we're going to see right in the heart of New York City if it was, because obviously that's Washington, D.C. It's one of the most liberal, cities in the country. So he may not be getting a fair shake there. Definitely.
UFC, I feel like he should get it. I mean, everywhere he's ever been to a UFC event, he's got the entrance, and it's been a pretty warm welcome.
That's why I think it's going to be a real gauge of how people are feeling right now, because you could just say that he's in a liberal city, so they're booing him out of the building. But we've seen him do well in liberal cities over the last couple of years. So I think Saturday night's going to be a big tell.
I don't think you'll see the new New York City mayor-elect, Mondani, in there. So I don't think you'll see him there. There was a pretty cool aspect from the game. The game was a laugher. Lions were in control start to finish. Sure. It was kind of a joke. But during the game, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a pretty interesting celebration that was kind of ignored on the broadcast. They didn't bring it up, even though everybody knew exactly what he was doing with the little ditty that he did. Here's Amon-Ra's touchdown celebration.
Goff on the slant to St. Brown. He is in for a Lions touchdown.
Give it to me. And the whole team, like everybody else is doing it with him.
It wasn't just Amon-Ra. Nope.
No. And so they didn't mention it on the broadcast. I mean, they were doing this last year too. A couple NFL players were doing it last year. But after the game, here's a little touchdown. We get a little breakdown here, a little inside slant underneath.
Yep.
Gets in.
Yeah, he wins inside. Gets vertical right away.
Yep.
Yep.
Most importantly, gets it across the end zone, crosses the plane. Here was Amon-Ra St. Brown after the game talking about his celebration.
Nah, I mean, I heard Trump was going to be at the game. I don't know how many times, the president's going to be at the game. So just decided to have some fun and do his dance.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. And I guarantee you he gets a lot of hate on social media for doing that. But
social media is not real. So
no, it is not.
And I hate to break the news to people who really aren't sure, but guys, there's a lot more conservative athletes than they want to make you believe. I mean, we've seen this ever since 2020 when the whole COVID thing happened, right? Yep. And they were forcing players to decide upon playing or, maybe doing something that they weren't completely comfortable with their body. And I think, look, a lot of the things that make you successful athlete to that level are things that, right or wrong, they tend to be what people liken with like the conservative side over the last half a decade. It's like, I don't know. I'm not going to go through them right now, but I mean, like, that's another can of worms. But I mean, like, I think a lot more inside the locker room probably feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown and a lot of these other guys. It's becoming a little more acceptable to voice it now, whereas the last couple of years, it's like a death sentence if you're like a fringe player.
Yes, and I think people were afraid to get canceled. Right. That's my favorite part about the locker room. Is I used to get into political arguments with teammates, and we would disagree vehemently. Yeah. Like you would have total opposite sides of the aisle, maybe some insults thrown.
Right.
But you know what? After we were done, it was all good.
That's it.
We could put it past us. We can agree to disagree, which is okay to do. Voice your dissent at the ballot box. And, make your vote known. You can make your opinion known. But if you don't agree, it's okay. Yeah. And I think that respect was there. And I think we need a lot more of that respect shown as a society.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've said it a lot of times, man. I think it's like a microcosm of what the world should be, the locker room.
Yes.
Right? We all look different. We all come from different places, but we're all in the same place. We're all pulling in the same direction for the same purpose. And that's why, like, where I think our experiences make us a little jaded to one side or the other. Like me, I hear about the racism in the world, and I hear about the way that people aren't supposed to get along, but I think about my own experiences, and I don't know if it makes it harder for me to understand the plight of people who are outside of the locker room, but to me, it's like, man, I just don't see it in my life, and I'm extremely grateful for it. They accept us, and we accept them, and we're family in there. So
yep. All right, we're going to turn into the PBD podcast before long, getting a little politically heated in here this morning, talking about some of these topics, but from one NFC East team to another, the New York Giants, below their third fourth quarter lead, giving up 2 touchdowns to the Chicago Bears. They're in Chicago. You felt like this was a season that maybe there was enough shown from Jaxson Dart and Brian Daboll, but I have warned of this for a few weeks now. At some point, you've got to deliver some wins for a fan base that is desperate to win some games. And with yet another one, the third time, I saw a stat that the amount of fourth quarter leads and the probabilities that the New York Giants were supposed to win, which was well above 90%, that the odds of them losing all 3 of those games with those chances in the fourth quarter was 1 in 60,000. That's how bad it was. And Giants fans have wanted this change for a long time. So Brian Daboll gets fired after that game. And then you start digging into some of the issues with Jaxson Dart and how much he's been running Jaxson Dart. Because I know we've talked about Jaxson Dart, and I've been like, he cannot survive playing the game this way. And it wasn't just him scrambling around outside the pocket. There were designed quarterback runs that Brian Daboll was scheming up just to try to win games, as opposed to, you know what? I've got a really talented rookie quarterback. Let me protect him a little bit, as he's already suffered a concussion like earlier in the system. I don't even know how you describe it when he got in trouble. Yeah, it was a concussion. Then he has his second one, and I think this is finally the last straw for the New York Giants. Was like, oh, okay, he's not winning games. He's putting our young franchise quarterback at risk. We've got to do something before this gets worse, and they went ahead and did it.
Yeah, and I guess, like, I don't know, I've heard good and bad. People are happy about it. People aren't happy about it. Look, it's a game and a league of results. You said it yourself, right? 20, 40, and 1 through 3+ years. And the problem was they're showing signs of regression every year. You know, he came out super hot, 9-7. He wins a playoff game, and everybody in Giant Land was expecting the trajectory to continue to go forward. And it's made worse by the fact that every year it's gone back, and it's the way they're losing games. And like you said, this was probably the last straw. I mean, this guy's your franchise cornerstone. He's shown some great things over the first, 2 or 3 months of his career. And to think that he could have been putting him at extra risk to kind of save his own butt, that there is a deal breaker, and that's going to be something that gets you fired in this league for sure. And that's where we're at now. Yeah.
So Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator, steps up to be the new interim head coach. I don't think he was a hot name. The year that Daniel Jones and they went to the playoffs, Mike Kafka's name was coming up to potentially be a head coach.
He was getting interviews.
Obviously, I think that's cooled off a little bit.
Right.
But he will be working with a new quarterback as Jameis Winston, with Jaxson Dart being in that concussion protocol, not expected to play. Jameis gets the start as opposed to Russell Wilson, where if you watched any time this season, no matter what it was, the team did not respond to Russell Wilson, whether it was his leadership, whether it was his style of play, which was really not very productive.
Right.
I think this was a no-brainer decision. And I think Jameis is the type of guy who could potentially get a young team to rally around him. The problem is the roster is just not that good.
Yeah.
And that's where I do think Joe Schoen is squarely a bullseye on his back
100%.
right now, where if this season continues to go off a cliff, and what would turn this thing around? Like, is Jaxson Dart going to become the hero and just carry this team? No, not as a rookie.
Right.
I do think the Giants will probably just clean house once it's all said and done. And I think they probably should, because if you look at the roster that Joe Schoen put together and the mistakes that he's made, like letting Saquon Barkley go to Philly, giving Daniel Jones the big contract, some of the misses he's had in free agency and the
100%.
draft. It's just, I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I think if you get rid of one of them, you probably have to get rid of both. I mean, Dable, a lot of it fell on the late losses, but a lot of it were injuries. And then Joe Schoen misses on Evan Neal, which is a major miss on that offensive line. He drafts Jalen Hyatt, and like you said, the Saquon Barkley thing. So yeah, I thought if you got rid of one, you got to get rid of both. I think the Kafka situation is tough. It reminds me of Jeff Ulbrich in New York last year. The problem with a guy like this, and I think if I'm Mike Kafka, and this is a bold statement, I might just resign now. Because what's going to happen is, well, think about it. They're going to throw him into this dumpster fire. He's going to go 2-8 the rest of the way or whatever it is, and he just tarnishes his reputation going forward. It happened with Jeff Ulbrich last year, who was like a real hot candidate. Now he's got to kind of build himself back up as a D coordinator before maybe he can get another shot. But I think I might even just step back and be like, yeah, that's gonna. Are they gonna force Jaxson Dart come back this year? Does he play again?
I think he'll play again because they want to get the development. They want to get him playing time, but it will not be until he is 100% clear of mind, cleared from the concussion. So I would say multiple weeks.
But bad offensive line, bad running game, lost his best receiver. I don't know what I guess other than that, the upside, and you have to kind of play it by ear then, right? If he's running around like a chicken without a head, it's tough, man. You're already 2 concussions in this year, and his playing style, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy to me who has that governor where I can pull myself back and play a safe way, So it's going to be interesting to see.
Do you know what everybody's favorite player on every roster is?
What everybody's favorite player on every run. Well, King Scadaboo's probably.
No, I'm talking about a position. Regardless of team, a lot of times the favorite player is the backup quarterback.
Of everybody? I know it's supposed to be like the best job.
A lot of teams, especially on the bottom tier teams, right? They all want to see the backup come in. Jameis Winston is America's backup quarterback because everybody loves Jameis Winston.
For sure.
He has got a magnetic personality. Yeah. He's really kind of opened up, too, in the last 4 or 5 years. He's been doing more media. Socially, he's on social media. I've seen him doing stuff, man, on the streets of Manhattan, walking around New York, waving to people on the Empire State Building, all over the place. They love him right now. We'll see how he does. This is one of the reasons they love Jameis Winston, because of quotes like this.
I want fans to know that I'm going to do my best. Obviously, I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to execute, have a surgical execution, and just play ball, man. Like, this is something I've been doing since I've been 4 years old. Now I just get to do it in the greatest city in the world. I'm going to be saying it with my son. It's the greatest city in the world. Yeah, that's a Hamilton reference if y'all don't know. 10-year reunion.
He's so good. I mean, he's singing a line from Hamilton in New York. I guarantee you he probably saw it in the last month on Broadway. And so he knows all that's 10-year anniversary and he's got the tunes down. He does, man. He is a really good dude. I know him from his time at Florida State, covered him in college, ran into him at some Super Bowl parties over the years. He is a great guy for a locker room. And unfortunately, I do think he's best served at this point in his career as a backup, as a shoulder to lean on, and to kind of help Jaxson Dart in his preparation and his process. And maybe that could be helpful for Jaxson Dart, watching Jameis prepare as a starter. What does he do routine-wise? What time does he get to the building? How does he study film? What does he do after practice? Does he grab extra guys? I think even though the season is lost, I still think Jaxson Dart could learn from Jameis Winston how he handles himself, how he interacts with his teammates, with the media. He really has done an unbelievable job of kind of, he had to do some damage repair on his image because he went through some things at Florida State. It wasn't great in Tampa, but everybody loves Jameis now. And I think Jaxson Dart should really try to watch and learn.
It's interesting, that locker room, right? Because if you look at the guys who Jaxson Dart does have to look at, I mean, they don't come more opposite than the way Russell Wilson approaches things and the way Jameis Winston approaches things, right? Like, I don't know. I've never been in a locker room with Jameis Winston. I've been around Russell a bit, and his preparation is just stellar, monotonous. Like, everything is by the books. I feel like Jameis is probably a little looser, where I think Jaxson Dart will get to see both ends of the spectrum and really see what works. Let me ask you this question, though. As a team, right, if I'm trying to be taken serious as a team, how do I feel about my starting quarterback out there singing Hamilton? Like, is he a guy who can rally us and make us believe, like, we can lean on him? If things go bad, like, I love lighthearted. I love, chill out and fun. But
they're still a two-win
Cam
team.
was doing it as an MVP.
Right.
Like, where's like the line there as a guy who, like, Peyton Manning wasn't doing that. Tom Brady wasn't doing that.
No.
So how does he galvanize a team and be taken serious? Rather, I don't want to say, can he be taken like a joke? Because that's harsh.
No,
but,
he can.
You know,
and he does get to be a little bit of like a character of the NFL. And you don't want your starting quarterback to be a character. You want him to be a franchise quarterback. But that's the beauty of where Jameis is now. I think he's kind of accepted, I am what I am. Like, I'm going to be a spot starter. I don't know if Jameis, he might have hope to be a starting quarterback again one day.
32, 33?
Yeah, so he still could technically do that. But I almost feel like he's accepted his role of where he is right now, and it is kind of be a character. But I will say this, the way you can overcome that perception is he is a guy that gets there at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And he's early to get there.
That's cool.
He's not a knucklehead like being late to meetings. He's just a fun-loving guy who, and I thought you saw what he said about how he's going to approach the game.
I thought the first part was great.
Yeah.
I thought the second part was a little hairy.
So you get a little bit of both with Jameis.
And you get that on the field, too, because he's going to throw you 30 touchdowns.
And he's going to eat some wins. He's going to give you some eat the dubs. He's going to do that, too. And hopefully they can get one for the Giants. But we shall see how it goes with Jameis. I'll be rooting for him to see if they can do it. I don't have much high hopes for the Giants, though, with the schedule remaining. We went from one coach fired to another one that was on the hot seat, about as hot as anybody in the NFL, with Mike McDaniel of the Miami Dolphins. And they come out with one of the surprises, one of the shocks of the weekend at home, beautiful sunny day. That graphic, it could not be more accurate, because they stunned the Buffalo Bills, who for whatever reason have had a couple clunkers this year. And that is a team that I thought could win the Super Bowl, and still maybe they can. But good, I would say great teams. Some good teams have some clunkers. Great teams usually handle their business week in and week out. That does not describe the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it was we've seen it before. We've mentioned it on this program, actually. It was Josh Allen going back and resorting to the old Josh Allen, right, where he's trying to do everything. We saw everything from him. You saw a couple of plays where he looked like the best player on the planet. He was extending the play. He ran one where he broke the pocket to the left, came all the way back to the other side, and delivered a strike for a first. So stuff like that, you see that MVP in there, and you're like, wow, this dude is the best player I've seen in years. And then he does things where he's trying to push a pile, and he winds up fumbling it late, or he makes a bad interception and a bad decision down in the end zone. So, yeah, I think that's what we've seen, and they're going to go as far as Josh Allen takes them, right?
But they also may not go as far as their defense lets them down. To give up 225 total yards, 174 on the ground, and 2 touchdowns to Devon Achane, that is a brutal defensive performance from the Bills. But they were on the field a lot. You mentioned Josh Allen, the ups and downs, because I agree with you. Josh Allen's going to carry that team, but the defense might be one of the bigger surprises there as they, came down. What do you think this means for the Dolphins? Because they fired Chris Grier. We talked about that, their general manager, and they kept Mike McDaniel. So it's a little bit of a flip-flop from the Giants we were just talking about, where they fired their head coach, kept the general manager. both of these organizations, I think the Dolphins and the Giants need to clean house, get a fresh start. And with the Dolphins, ultimately, I think it probably means starting over with a quarterback too. But Mike McDaniel, Tua, they are kind of attached at the hip. They do feel like they're a package deal.
Right.
I still think this is very much a temporary, and we just saw them have a pretty good win a few weeks ago against Atlanta. And then all of a sudden they laid an egg. They're just way too up and down.
Yeah.
I still think Mike McDaniel probably gets fired. It's just a matter of time. And I think it's still probably the right decision.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. And I think they're probably taking more of an approach like I thought they might in New York, where it's like, this is going to be ugly the rest of the way. So we might as well let one guy take all the lumps. And when we clean house, it's more acceptable. You know what I mean? You said it, man. They're too high and too low in that. Some days Tua will come out and they'll like this game was was a microcosm of everything. 2 touchdowns. He threw 2 bad picks where he just lobs the ball up into double coverage and he gets picked off. So that's Tua in a nutshell right there. And I don't know that at any time in the league that a quarterback like that is going to take you to where you want to go. I kind of with you there. I think it's just they're going to ride it out. They're going to go together, and we'll see.
So you asked about Jameis Winston and the way he handled himself in that press conference,
right?
And you said, would Tom Brady or Peyton Manning handle themselves a certain way?
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
Because first we want to show the Buffalo Bills. This was trending, before the game. Everybody talking about Buffalo takes over South Florida. And I've been to Dolphins game. Trust me, everybody takes over Hard Rock Stadium because the Dolphins fan base, little fair weather, when it's not going good, they're not showing up. So I've seen Jets take over, Patriots take over. It was just the Bills this weekend, and they were at the Elbow Room, which has been there since I was a kid. It's been a long time hot spot, and they were lit. Here's the little scene from them over the weekend. I mean, you can see it's a lot of Bills fans, a couple Dolphins fans, but mostly Bills fans on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Bills Mafia
got banners up,
taking over. Where are the tables? And jumping off some of that upper deck. I'm not surprised we wouldn't have seen that. So, you know who else probably saw this clip and said, you know what? Let me just drive by the Elbow Room and see what's going on. One Mike McDaniel. Have a look at the Miami Dolphins head coach driving home from a home victory against those Bills.
All right,
So I have made that turn 1,000 times in my life. I used to go down there in high school and cruise the Strip. You go right there and make that left turn because it's one way on A1A.
Yep.
I used to come home from the airport when I used to drive by there. Mike McDaniel was asked about it. He really didn't say much. So I think it was kind of, did you see him? Do you think he said anything?
I didn't see what Mike McDaniel said. I mean, I know the turn too, and he was down there for a reason. He didn't just happen to wander by.
What if he lives down there along the beach in Fort Lauderdale? Is there a chance? I don't know where he lives.
There's a chance.
Well, that was maybe his explanation.
Okay, let's
But
hear
he
it.
still, as Mike McDaniel typically does, gave you a very perplexing answer.
Yeah.
That's why I like the good old days, the throwbacks of yore where you could trust, the internet and the images because, it is pretty detailed. That I do live in that area, but, I mean, AI, right? I live in that area. AI is real. That's what I got for you.
I tell you what, one thing that has not changed about the Miami Dolphins is his personality. Because as much heat as he's under and he's feeling good after a win, he's still giving you these quirky answers that everybody loves and the media eats it up, and you heard some chuckles there. And they even tried to press him. They're like, so what do you mean? And he just would not answer them. I think his days are numbered.
There's a real simple cliche. It says timing is everything. And Mike McDaniel's under one of those playoff years where he, finishes 9-7 or 10-8 or 10-7 or whatever it is, and he's bought a little goodwill. That's the time for that, dude. You're like 2 weeks off a beatdown. Chances are it's going to happen again relatively soon. Like, what a bad time to do this, man. They don't need this. What you want to do is right now, you want to display a sense of calm and under control. And what are you doing, man? You can't be doing this. This is more cartoon character stuff.
For your 3rd win of the season.
Yeah.
If it was your 7th win of the season and you had 3 losses, then sure, live it up, have some fun.
Right.
But I thought it was a bad look, and I do think that is a coach on borrowed time.
And even then, like, if you think about, if I just say, Danny, give me the 5 coaches in the league that, you feel the most comfortable with, you're going to say Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin. You're going to say maybe maybe one of the Harbaughs, right?
Right.
And you think, like, that's what I want my franchise to exemplify. These are the guys who last a long time, who build nice foundational programs, and none of them, you wouldn't be caught dead doing that, right?
No.
None of them would be doing that. So,
No.
I mean,
The last NFL matchup, then I want to get to that NBA story with the All-Star game. We had a classic of quarterbacks squaring off against each other. Drake Maye versus Baker Mayfield in Tampa. I thought this was a statement win. Now, I have fallen in love with Drake Maye since the moment I saw him in that Carolina blue. Last year was a little bit nervous about him, but he has been playing at an MVP level for all of this season. And I do think some people, this kind of happens as you're trying to establish yourself as both a quarterback in the NFL and as a team that people view as a serious contender. People start asking, well, is your schedule beneficial? Who have you really beaten? How do you play against the better teams? This was a really, really good win for the New England Patriots to show you this is not fluky. This is for real. And once again, I think Drake Maye is the quarterback for the Patriots for the next 15 years. He is that good, that impressive. His completion percentage took a drop. Baker Mayfield might have outplayed him, but ultimately wins. I know that they're not supposed to be a stat, but they very much are, that skew your perception either positively or negatively for a young quarterback. And most importantly, Drake Maye got the win.
Yeah, and that's what the game is about, right? As long as you make enough plays and limit your mistakes, especially as a young quarterback, you give your team a chance to beat who's another MVP candidate. Baker Mayfield played a really good game, and Drake Maye kept his team in the game. He made enough plays to get the win, and that's it. Nobody cares at the end of the year if you're 12-5 with a bunch of you just got to win. That's all that matters. I don't care how dominant they are. It's great to see, but there's going to be a couple of these every year where as long as you find a way to come through and pull it out, and he's still a young quarterback, just to see him finding a way to consistently win, and he's dueling with guys who are in MVP discussions, man. Every week he gets closer. He's playing awesome. I feel the exact same way about he's going to be there for the long haul, and I'm so envious of franchises like this.
Oh.
We've talked about it before, man. We see the Packers. We saw the Spurs do it. I'm so envious of the Patriots. Teams that I root for haven't had a quarterback in 50 years, and they go right into the next.
And you know what it starts with? It starts with a good coach. Because, again, I mentioned last year it wasn't so perfect with Drake Maye. The Jared Mayo was not a great situation, and he didn't play great. Well, guess what? They hire a great coach in Mike Vrabel.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they're right back where they want to be. Yep. I will say this, too. In case you haven't noticed now, I love referencing the odds and how the odds makers view the MVP race. Co-favorites right now, Drake Maye and Matthew Stafford at plus 300.
Dude, I am so glad you went there because I told you before, I have something I want to talk to you about before we go, right? It's a beautiful segue. So random stat, Matthew Stafford is in year 17 right now. He went to 115, 115, and 1 this week. It's the latest a quarterback in his career has ever hit 500 for the first time in his career.
Wow.
Question for you, Matthew Stafford, is he Canton bound?
Yes, I think he is, because I think people will appreciate that he was in one of the worst organizations that is out there for the time that he was spent in Detroit.
Okay.
And I do think there is a recency bias with voters, so they'll remember the games that he won towards the end in Detroit and then winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. And don't look now, but he could add another one. Like, if he wins a second, then it's done. It's a wrap. So I do think maybe he's not first ballot.
Sure.
But I also think if you look at his career statistics, which I do think are going to be problematic, because as the rules have evolved, you're seeing all the long-time passing numbers by guys like Brett Favre and Peyton Manning, even Tom Brady.
Go down.
Those are going to get shattered.
Sure.
And there's going to be guys like Matt Ryan's a good example. Matt Ryan is like one of the all-time leading passing yardage leaders, but he's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Because
Has an MVP.
Has an MVP, but he doesn't have the Super Bowl, and I don't think he was consistent long enough term. So I do think Matthew Stafford will be a Hall of Famer. I just don't think it'll be first ballot. Are you there with me, or do you think that record might drag him down?
I'm weird. I think he's going to get in because I know what I think the premise is to get in these days. But I think growing up, I thought getting in the Hall of Fame was a lot harder. Like, I think they've loosened the reins in every sport. When I was a young kid, I never thought there was like more than 1 or 2 Hall of Famers at a position in any sport at any time. And my big thing was, if you've never been the best at your position for any period of your career, I always found it hard to put you in the Hall of Fame. Like, when I was growing up, it was like, who was it that I thought would? I mean, Roger. I guess now he's a steroid guy, but like there were guys that kind of jumped off the page to me. I was always of the belief like it doesn't require any thinking. Like I think a guy's a Hall of Famer or he's not. If I say the name Tom Brady, you think Hall of Famer. If I think say Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer.
Dan Marino, Hall of Famer.
So there's guys. That's what I think.
All right, I might adjust this on the fly.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm gonna say he has to get a second Super Bowl to get into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
It's only 2 Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
2-time Pro Bowler. That is not enough.
That's what I think, right? He's going to have ridiculous numbers, but they're almost like compilers.
Yeah.
You know, it's like compiling in baseball.
So I am amending my Matthew Stafford take.
I feel happy about that.
And saying that he has to get a second Super Bowl. And even then, with some of these numbers, like I think he should be in the Pro Bowl like 5 times.
I think so too.
You know, so I think it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. He's a tough dude. Oh. He's played on bad teams. Mm-hmm. He's played behind bad offensive line. And the minute he goes to a good organization, like right away, he brings them a Super Bowl. Like I think those years were wasted, and that stinks for Matthew Stafford. Yeah. I think that's impacted the perception of him. So I've always had a real big appreciation for Matthew Stafford.
And I think he's partially responsible. Well, obviously, he's played with great receivers, Calvin Johnson, and then Puka, and then Cooper Kupp. But I think he's kind of turned Calvin Johnson into a Hall of Famer. And I think he's had a big hand, and maybe Cooper Kupp makes a run at the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? I think a lot of that is playing with him.
This is not a slight to Matthew Stafford, but I think Calvin Johnson could have made me look like a Hall of Famer. Like he was that dominant. You just throw it in his area. It was like Randy Moss. Those guys make their quarterbacks look really, really good. All right, I want to do some NBA here as we close out the show because there was an interesting format for the NBA All-Star Game. They have been searching for answers to try to figure out how do we fix the NBA All-Star Game because it is a joke, and it's much like the NFL where we saw the Pro Bowl become a joke, and they just said, you know what, we're just going to do flag football. And the NBA is revamping things where it's going to look unrecognizable for the NBA, and they're going to go, and this was confusing to me because I'm like, I always thought of it as 2 teams, right? You had the East versus West. Now you've got 2 U.S. teams and 1 world team in a round-robin tournament, which will feature 4 12-minute games. So they'll play round robin. It'll be quick. It'll be fast. And I think they're trying to tap into the international aspect, which hockey had such tremendous success with. Sure. Now, that tournament was a little different as it was really awesome. It was awesome because it was real games. So I think it's going to feel a little bit more like the NFL does with their Pro Bowl, where it's a little bit more of an exhibition. And the only way this is successful is if the players care. Right, and I just don't know if they're going to care. The hockey players, they cared. That's why it was a huge success. There was pride in country. They wanted to win. They're playing as hard as ever. I don't think NBA players are going to be really enthusiastic about playing for their country in an exhibition game in the middle of the season. They're going to be worried about resting, making sure we don't go too hard. Right. So I think, you'll see some interesting things from it. Like I think you'll see some great offense, maybe a little bit defense in the last 2 minutes of each mini game. Right. But I still think it's going to be probably a laugher where everyone's out there having a good time.
Yeah, this is something we've talked about before, and I think it's a matter of if you can get the important guys to care, everybody will care. Yeah. Right? If I can get Giannis on board and Luka on board and Shea on board for Team Worlds, I think they'll care. If I can get LeBron and Steph Curry and KD on board with Team America, I think they care. Look, I give them credit for, trying to revamp this thing, trying to make it more fun, trying to breathe some life into it. But I think, more questions than we've gotten answers from the first part, right? I don't know now, do we have to vote for a certain number of American players and then a certain number of world players? Because that's going to do an injustice to the world players who only get 10 in, where maybe they have more guys deserving. And then I remember as a New Yorker, I watched Jalen Brunson get a starting nod for the first time last year, and I was so excited about it. And he wound up playing like 8 minutes because his team wasn't on the floor. Right. So it's like if I vote on LeBron James or I vote Steph Curry or I vote on one of these other guys that I want to see play, but his team plays 1 game and he's out, he may get 11 minutes of all-star time when I wanted to see Luka Doncic play the whole time because we voted him in as a starter, So I think there's probably some lapses in it, but you give him credit for trying to liven it up and make it something, right? I guess we'll see as we go.
We will see as we go. There you go.
That's a sick picture.
That is a sick picture right there. The world versus the U.S., but there's a 3rd team missing. Like that's a thing that's confusing too because they have 3 teams, 2 U.S. and 1 world. So we'll see how that unfolds. And I bet the first time it'll rate pretty well because people will be curious to see how it unfolds. All right, finishing out, we got some videos the fellas have for us. a little reactions here at the end. Always some fun stuff. Curious to see where they go. Haven't seen these. What do we got? Football in Ivory Coast. Would it be on the Ivory Coast or in the Ivory? It does look like it's in the Ivory Coast. Oh, wow. So is that beachfront there? Is that what that is? Like, I thought I saw waves there.
I don't know, but I know if you ask anybody in Ivory Coast, this is not what they deem football. Ivory Coast is actually a pretty good soccer
yes.
a soccer country, right?
Yes, it would be.
Yeah, that's
like
interesting.
It.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Football global.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I love it. The more eyes on the game, the better.
Whoa, what do we got here? A unicycle? I see a guy dunking. How's he going to pull that off of? Okay. Oh, a little around the back. Full length of the court. Oh.
I'm trying to figure out how he bunny hopped up there.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, I need to see that from another angle. That was incredible.
Hey, just get a little momentum going. I don't know. They figure it out on a bike, but I don't know how they do it on a unicycle.
No, absolutely. Nice job.
All right, we got a little more. This looks. Is this one of the NBA new courts or is this international?
No, that might be one of the NBA.
Yeah,
that's the NBA tournament. NBA tournament.
That's cool, and Jaden gets a steal right away.
Oh.
Right to the cup to slam it through with a right hand. How about that from Jaden McDaniels?
Jaden McDaniels
that
is
was
nasty.
Filthy. Mm-hmm. That's a tall, skinny drink of water.
That was like 4 seconds into the game, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Nice job, man.
Love it. Good stuff from the fellas as always. Appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you go like and subscribe, comment on the YouTube video. Follow us on social at Danny Cannell.
At Mano Steel on Instagram. Get us both on the neck. Check out the merch store. You guys know the drill.
We'll see y'all next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.